There we go. Okay, so now we are officially recording. Welcome once again. The consent information is in the chat box. And then if you haven't done so yet, go ahead and sign in and tell us what's energizing you at your work right now. Ooh, somebody mentioned recruitment success. Oh, we're going to talk about recruitment today, so you might want to share that if you're willing. So we have a nice agenda today, and like I mentioned, we are going to kick off with a conversation about recruitment. So I hope you all saw in the email that I sent a couple days ago that we are going to do some Padlet questions and had a chance to think about those. But before we do that, I want to give a couple reminders about some resources that are out there. On our website, there is the Ask Recruitment support materials that we did back in 2020, which was an opt-in for one of the America Service Commission's Ask services. And as part of that, there are different learning modules. So like an online training that you could do that has information about recruitment that might be helpful in developing a recruitment plan. There's also a large recruitment resource guide. And then also some templates. I found a stand-up banner template the other day, and there's some different templates in there. However, do please note that those templates do have a legacy logo, so that will need to be updated. But it's a good place to start if you wanted to do that. We also, I'm gonna make another plug for the Basecamp group. We do have a peer resource library, and if you're finding something is successful or have developed some promotional or recruitment materials and you're willing to share them with the field, it would be wonderful if you wanted to put them in there. So I wanted to also do another reminder about serviceyear.org. This is a way that Serve Washington has invested in recruitment for you all. We are covering premium access for all of our programs. And as part of that, you can get connected to the statewide network for Washington programs on the applications. If you're taking applications through the system, you can have customized questions. And with that, there is a lot of flexibility. When we come out to monitor, there's a lot of flexibility and we look in what we look at and consider to be applications. So if you've got one application from eGrants and one application from Service Year, like I'm gonna count it as an application. So think about that and think about how to remove barriers and make the recruitment enrollment process as easy as possible. So just wanted to put that out there. I mentioned eGrants. That's the My AmeriCorps portal is the member-facing side where members apply. You all are required to have a post a service opportunity is what they call it in eGrants. And we did go with Service Year because it's a little bit more modern than eGrants and lower barrier for some people. So however you choose to do that, if you want to just do one general post in eGrants and then more specific ones in Service Year, that's a strategy you can take as well. And I also know that a lot of you are using your own recruitment platforms, or sorry, application platforms. If you're with an organization and they require, or they already have a system set up. Again, we just need to see an application in the file. We don't really look hard. So kind of think that through as well as you're gearing up for next year. But if you do use service years recruitment and develop an application through there, you can add some customized questions. So if there's something that you really want to know that's not captured in the eGrant system, you can ask a couple customized questions in here. And this PowerPoint, this presentation will be recorded and a PDF document that has all of these live links. But I'm also going to be sending out an email that's got all of these different links attached. There's also an amazing resource hub that everybody will have access to. It's got a whole bunch of different outlines for plans or different templates. Like one they recently did was geared towards recruiting high school graduates or individuals with high school credentialing. So there's a lot there. There's also some member retention support pieces. There's a virtual companion program. Members have access to their own resource hub. They have a Service Plus Tech program as well that your members can get enrolled in and work work for them. And Service Hero is also the one that does AmeriCorps alums. So keeping members connected to AmeriCorps even after they've graduated from their service. Just wanted to put that reminder out there. I had heard that somebody didn't, one program didn't know that we were still doing the premium access this year. We have a lot of new program directors that I wanted to make sure saw this. So thank you for your patience. If you've heard my big service year spiel before, but as many resources as we can get out there around recruitment is great. To talk a little bit about some more of the Serve Washington recruitment efforts. Excuse me. We did recently hire a new staff person. Her name was Paige Sharp. If you were in San Diego, you may have met her. Paige is our recruitment and engagement program manager. And she can't join us on our call today because she's actually in DC for some of the service year grants that we have received this year. So there are two different service year grants that Serve Washington has. One is Opportunity for All, and it's a state, it's us helping the network to build a statewide cross-program group to talk about some recruitment strategies and how to make that an opportunity for all. Part of that work is also Paige is going to be setting up some alumni ambassadors and looking into kind of an ambassador program and how alums or even a speakers bureau as part of that. So these alums can go and do presentations and talk about AmeriCorps. So looking forward to how that all rolls out. Then there's a second service year grant, and since we have them, we're kind of doing them a little bit in combination. But there's a post-secondary pathways cohort, and that is helping individuals who are high school credentialed to get really specific career pathway support, and that's real world credentialing. And it's not a ton of money, but it's enough to get the conversation going. And so I'm hoping that some of you have heard from Paige already around this, or you will be very shortly. So this is something we're excited about. And I'm seeing love for Paige in the chat box. We are pretty excited. The other thing I wanted to mention regarding the Serve Washington recruitment efforts is giving a reminder about Rachel Friedrich. She is our communications coordinator. And one of the things that she's going to be doing this year that Paige and I have been working together on is planning out kind of a recruitment campaign, thinking through how we can get recruitment messaging out to the field, or not to our field, but out there beyond our field, and really increasing our communications efforts. Now, to do this, in the past, what we've done was just, okay, we see this posting on social media, we're going to share it, or this program contacted their program officer and needs some additional support, so we'll make a social media post for them. However, that's not hitting all of the programs, and we want to make sure that we are reaching out to all of our programs. So we're going to be driving people to service here, which is why I really encourage you to start utilizing that. It can take a moment to set up, but we've heard from some programs that it's been really, really successful. So that is our plan, is in all of our posts and recruitment things, we're going to be driving people to the service here so that they can see all the listings and all of the programs all in one centralized location. So that is our plan right now. But we would like to hear from you. Catherine's going to put a link to a Padlet activity in there, or in the chat box. And there are 4 questions we're going to be asking you around this. What strategies have been successful for recruitment? What are new strategies you're going to be trying? How have you shifted your use of social media around recruitment? And how can Serve Washington support your recruitment effort? Around that one, we have Rachel, Paige, and I have talked about this recruitment campaign, but we haven't really launched it yet because we wanted to have this conversation with you all and see if you think that would be helpful, or if there's some other really great ideas. We invest quite a chunk of money in the Service Year platform because we feel like there's a big benefit here. But if we're off the mark and that's not really a good investment of our money from your perspective, we want to hear right from the field. So you are also welcome to come or turn your microphones on and talk and not just use the Padlet. So, and if I move this over here, can you all see the Padlet?
I can see the Padlet, Jenny.
Awesome, thank you. Okay, so someone's using Handshake, posting on Indeed, reducing application length. That's kind of what I was talking about, and like look at your process and see if there's barriers. Indeed, high volume, but it's where we get most of our applicants. local radio, university and internship and career fairs, slot conversions. Oh, I love slot conversions and thinking about that as a strategy. That's awesome. Ooh, exhibitor at state FBLA conference, virtual and in-person career fairs, connections with career hubs, local high schools and community partners, bonuses to members and staff for recruitment referrals. Awesome. Day in the life of AmeriCorps videos, more part-time service terms, recruiting directly from colleges, career fairs. Somebody's on TikTok. Oh, Paige is going to be really excited about that. She's really wanting to expand our social media presence. Okay. Using socials to tell as many stories as possible. Trying to keep up with social media trends using the most popular. Yeah, when I was doing the social media for Serve Washington, I'd feel like, okay, I finally figured out the algorithm, and then they'd go and change it. So yeah, keeping up to date on the trends and the algorithms can be challenging. Okay, now here's the big one. And again, please feel free to turn your cameras on and be part of the conversation if you feel comfortable doing that. I did see somebody just put in the chat box if you could get the recruitment strategies that are listed on the PowerPoint. Absolutely. Absolutely. We want to make sure that this gets in your hands. I'm also going to leave the link to this to this Padlet. I'm going to leave it up so that if there's anybody who wasn't able to be on our call today, can go in and add their own information. And then I'm newer to Padlet, so I will think through how to make sure that this gets out to the field. Okay, some strategies. Provide a solid, modern, standard application for all programs in SurfWA's portfolio. That's kind of what we were doing or trying to do with service year, because so many of the programs have different requirements. But if you've got some more specific ideas around that and you want to reach out to your program officer to talk that through, or Paige, program officer or Paige, since she's recruitment. Advocate for lower number of hours, a 15-hour slot. Yep. That is one of the conversations that Ask and the network are having with AmeriCorps leadership. Outreach marketing that directs potential candidates to our program. So with that, I'm curious if that means that the thoughts around the service year and driving people there so that they can see all of the programs, does that comment mean that it feels like we're missing the mark with that and you want it to be more specific directly to your programs? You can, if you want, you can always add a comment on here or like ones as well. Fund housing, yes. That's another conversation that we're having. That's a really hard one. Advocate for increased stipends and benefits. Doing that, and we're seeing progress. We'll talk about that a little bit later when we do grants making updates. high-level awareness of what AmeriCorps is. People keep talking about AmeriCorps being the best kept secret, and we don't want to be a secret. Getting connected with Paige. Connecting Washington State to the new Central AmeriCorps team, AmeriCorps recruitment team, because AmeriCorps did create and stand up a new office specific to recruitment. Yes, Serve Washington has been present on those calls. We've had opportunities to engage with them, and they are just really kind of gaining a little bit of momentum there. And as Paige kind of gets settled in, we'll figure out how to connect those dots a little bit more. Oh, a story on King 5 or another statewide media. That's a great idea. Oh, a question about getting in contact with Paige. Yeah, absolutely. Catherine, would you be able to put Paige's email in the chat?
Yes, let me grab it.
Awesome. And advocate for changes in citizenship requirements. I bet I know who put that one because they're a strong advocate for this. There is language in the budget that would address that, but they've put that language in past budgets and it hasn't gotten through. So it's a conversation we're trying, but I'm going to share a little bit of good news on that front in just a little bit. Okay. Awesome. The question around direct potential candidates to our programs. There's added a comment just to all programs. Directing candidates to service here sounds great. Love that. Focusing on colleges, yeah. We're both focusing on colleges, and there's kind of a new move to really engage individuals with high school credentials and use AmeriCorps as truly a career development. So as we talk through things, you might hear us shift, because we're needing to shift the value proposition of AmeriCorps, right? People aren't engaging in AmeriCorps the same way that they used to, like back in my day. The why for joining AmeriCorps has shifted, right? You know, I've heard members say the education award is just a drop in the bucket, and it's not that big of a deal if I exit my term early and don't get it. So that's not that as big of a motivation as it once was. So we're looking to shift the value proposition and some of the things that we talk about, and are wanting to think through that career development, that workforce pipeline, more than just if you join AmeriCorps, you'll get this experience. Thinking through, is there credentialing or certifications in your field that members can participate in? I'm going to call out CMAR. CMAR is a community health center, and they have their members go through a Department of Health program to get certified or certificate, one of the two, community health worker. So engaging that, and that is a free one. but there's also ones that are paid for or cost money. And is there a way to support members with that?
Jenny, are you talking about like our doula program where they get doula training and things like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, there's the doula. Yes, that's a really great example.
And I know all of our members have asked about getting certification for translator certification, because they all speak a different language.
Yeah, there you go. Awesome. Thanks, Rich. Yeah, so thank you for all of this information. I know Paige is going to be really excited to read about some of these things. And again, going to leave this Padlet up for a little bit. But this is always something you can talk over with your program officer, or you've got Paige's contact information. You can reach out to Paige. As we're shifting the value proposition, we're trying to figure out how Serve Washington and our role can make the biggest impact around recruitment. And you also heard me say, there's conversations around that. There's conversations around that. We're looking to turn those conversations into action. Some of them that are happening at the federal level, the living allowance amounts and the eligibility status, that's something that's at the federal level, and we continue to advocate for that and support ask in their advocacy of that in the appropriate AmeriCorps advocacy terminology. We're not talking political advocacy, of course. We're just talking and educating the AmeriCorps leadership around it. So, okay. Yeah, welcome any more thoughts and conversations that you might want to have around recruitment, because it is important. Now, let's go back to the slideshow. So, unfortunately, we were supposed to have our communications corner and have Rachel come and speak, but she's not feeling well today. So I think I'll go through these next slides really quickly and touch very, very high level on some things that she was going to talk about. And if you want more, you can always reach out to her, but maybe we can move this conversation to the July in-person, and we can expand it to talk through maybe some of those recruitment strategies that are bigger picture. Now, I know July isn't the best time to be talking recruitment strategies, but in general, if we want to have a communications conversation in July, we can. Social media, help us find your content. We're seeing amazing usage of the hashtags. Hashtag we serve WA, hashtag I serve WA. Still continue to encourage you to use those. But Rachel tends to have a hard time finding the hashtags, and just because of the way that they work. But if you tag us and just say @ServeWA, that helps Rachel be able to find your posts a lot easier. Like this example here, where Bellingham Parks and Rec tagged us in a post. Just a couple examples of some social media posts. I'm not quite sure what she was going to talk about with this really neat treasure chest. Newsletters, just wanted to hit on that we have developed and are sending out monthly newsletters. One is geared towards the general public, and one is geared towards AmeriCorps members, so getting resources directly to them. Some examples. Now, one thing that we would encourage you to do is, as you bring new members on, we can get into eGrants and pull member contact information all at one time. But then after that one time, we might not be getting members who come on at the mid-year point. So if you could help direct them to our website, and at the very bottom, there's this subscribe to email updates, that gets them connected to our newsletter distribution list. Or if you create a list of names and addresses and send that in, we can go ahead and add those ourselves. We just want to make sure that we're getting that newsletter out to as many members as possible. And of course, for anybody in your organization or your network who you think could benefit from that general audience newsletter, encouraging them to sign up too would be great. And then there is a new AmeriCorps PSA. So I think I'm going to try and play it, and we'll see if this works. Give me a thumbs up if you hear volume.
No volume, Jenny.
No volume? Oh, bummer. After I started, I was like, I bet there was a Zoom button I was supposed to push. We do typically use Teams for internal communications, and still learning the ropes for Zoom. Well, you will get the links for the new AmeriCorps PSA, or you can go onto YouTube and look it up. It's this new campaign is Choose America. Not America, Choose AmeriCorps. Excuse me. Okay. Now I'm going to pass it off, I think, to Thomas. We've got some information around unexpended funds and carryover that we wanted to give you a quick update on. Thomas?
Yeah, so I guess we're starting with formula.
Oh, sorry.
So everybody, sorry, what, Jenny?
I said sorry about that. If you had wanted to do it this way, yeah.
But yeah, so everybody reported unexpended to me in March. Thanks for that. It helps us plan for the future. We're going with what you reported to us with your unexpended funds report, our funds that you're relinquishing, but we also very much encourage you to do what you can to spend all the funds that you did not report as unexpended. I know that we encouraged you to be a little liberal in determining how much funds you had left at least in cost reimbursement, so that you could try and spend it on things like recruitment initiatives and things like that. So yeah, just kind of keep in mind you handled the unexpended funds thing, but you're still trying to spend that money that you did not relinquish. Do we go to competitive, Jenny?
Yep.
Okay, so in the past, the usual way that we handle competitive unexpended is that basically goes right back to the federal government and that's it. But with some of the extreme amounts of unexpended that have been seen all across the country lately, they developed a new idea where money can be carried forward within a prime grant, which for the purposes of our fixed competitive grants, there is a possibility that the unexpended that you reported to us could in part be applied to increase the MSY for next year. So I think virtually all of the fixed competitive programs that reported unexpended have some room to increase toward the maximum per MSY. So that's something that it'll develop a little bit as the competitive process develops and those applications are fully approved. But yeah, make sure that you those programs that are fixed competitive, make sure you have conversations with your program officer and probably me in some cases, and we'll see what makes sense in terms of that. And I know Jenny, we do have a couple of competitive reimbursable. So their grant is actually in the third year. So for this year, that isn't something that is going to be relevant for them.
Oh, really good call out, Thomas. I had forgotten about that piece. Thank you. So for example, I think in competitive fixed, we only have one program that's at the max cost per MSY. And historically, that's been a strategy to make you more competitive at grant making, to come in with a low cost per MSY. So now with this carryover, if you have a cost per MSY for 23-24, excuse me, that's like 17,000. And the max is it 23, Thomas?
Yes.
Yeah, okay, the max is 23. And you don't fill all of your slots for 22, 23, you can take that money if you want and bump up your 22, 23, 24 cost per MSY from 17,000 up to the 23. So really excited about this potential. It still is the same though. You're only drawing down based on the hours, just at a higher cost per MSY. So like Thomas said, program officers will be engaging in conversations with you. Let us know if that's something that you're interested in and want to explore. We're pretty excited that this is a possibility.
I see a question in chat.
So just to clarify, does this apply for grants in the middle of their grant cycle? For instance, Washington Service Corps is in year 2 of our grant. So can we do the carryover for year 3? Yes, you can. Yeah. Thomas, does this apply to or do you know if it applies to the subgrants or prime level?
So my understanding is that it's the sub-grant level.
Oh, okay.
I,
So that's a
what's-
great question, Ashley, and one that Thomas and I hadn't thought about. And we'll need to get a little bit more clarity on that.
okay, when you say at the prime or the sub-grant level, I'm not sure I know what you mean. Because that didn't sound like that addressed her question to me.
So she's
I mean,
asking about,
within the prime is when the carry forward can work. It doesn't, I don't think it matters what year the sub-grantee is in on their cycle. But I think the funding has to stay with the sub-grantee that it was awarded to.
yes, it has to stay with the subgrantee. So for example, if AmeriCorps had unexpended funds, we wouldn't be able to take AmeriCorps' money and give it to the Service Corps to increase their cost per MSY. But if the Service Corps has unexpended cost per MSY, they can use those funds to carry over into the next year. So the money sticks with the program. However, the ability to carry it forward like that is not based on what year your grant is in. It's based on what year the prime grant is in. Did that make sense?
Yeah, and that is, I don't know how aware our subgrantees are of the prime year, but right now fixed competitive is in year one. So, so yeah, this is perfectly, like this applies to everybody who reported unexpended in the fixed competitive category. And like I said, for competitive reimbursable, they're actually in year 3 of the prime right now, and that's why this is not available to that segment of our portfolio.
Yep. Awesome. Thank you, Thomas. Appreciate
Yep.
you adding in your fiscal expertise.
So if you're fixed competitive, make a note, because that could make a big difference.
Yeah. Okay, and then we have a series of different announcements that just wanted to update you on. Announcements, updates. The first one is some new Serve Washington staff. We've got Paige Sharp, the Recruitment and Engagement Program Manager. I talked about Paige earlier, but just we're really excited to have somebody on the team that has dedicated time towards recruitment efforts. That's going to be exciting. And I'm very, very excited to announce that we have finally hired our other program officer, and we're about to be a full team. Sean, oops, I hit the wrong button. Sean Newman is going to be the new program officer. She is an alum and has extensive federal grants management background. So it's going to be great to have a perspective of somebody who's worked with other federal grants. So lots of excitement there. And with that, I just want to say thank you to everybody for your patience as we were trying to man a team that wasn't fully filled. So thank you for your patience and understanding over the last several months. And you'll be getting to meet Sean soon. And that means that there might be some reassignment of program officer. Not as much for Mary, but if you are on my caseload or Catherine, it might get shifted to Sean. We'll have to have those conversations and see how that lands. And then also a big thank you to Catherine, who came on part-time temporarily to cover while we were waiting for the new PO to start. So thank you, Catherine. Thanks to you all for your patience as we went through an extensive, long hiring process. All right. One of the things that we're excited about is we had some really exciting things happen at the state level, and House Bill 1176 was passed, and this is the bill that created a Washington Climate Corps. This is designed to develop and provide opportunities for service and workforce programs to support climate-ready communities. So for our perspective, Serve Washington is tasked with using the Climate Corps funds that were attached to this to augment member living allowances for members who are part of and programs who are part of the Washington Climate Corps. It's going to help reduce cost for host sites, and it's going to support service members who would be ineligible for federal funds. So this is where we have a little bit of good news. If an individual has DACA status and can't serve in AmeriCorps, we now have a pathway for them to serve. It is just in Climate Corps programs, but we think it's a step in the right direction. So we are going to be, we're already talking with the environmental focused programs in our portfolio now, but there could be some additional partnership development too. The second part of this bill doesn't fall under Serve Washington. It falls under the State Workforce Board, and they've been tasked with forecasting and tracking job demands within the clean energy and climate spaces. So again, kind of that message around shifting the value proposition. If we've got AmeriCorps members in this Climate Corps, what are they going to walk away with so that they can get one of these jobs in a clean energy field? So good conversations there. We also just wanted to briefly share that we had some other state budget wins. We put forward 6 decision packages, and 4 of them were funded. One is the AmeriCorps Equity Fund for the BIPOC Equity Fund. One is around ARP funding and doing some match around that. And then also Serve Washington support is now in the state budget, and AmeriCorps equity enhancements to living allowances. This all is going to help expand Serve Washington's capacity in different ways to be able to help programs and service in our state. So it's exciting times ahead. And now that we know what's passed and what didn't, we can start figuring out how to roll that out. So another thing that you'll be hearing more about in the future, but we were excited, and I just wanted to share that excitement with you all. Now for the grant making update, by now, since we've gone through the process, you all should be really familiar with these numbers. Oh, shoot. I forgot to update this number. The max cost per MSY went from 21,600 up to 23. It's at 23, and that's a $1,400 difference from where it was last year. It was at the 21 and now it's at the 23. We also saw a big increase in living allowance, over $1,000 increase in living allowance. And that now the range is 17,600 to 35,200. So that's a big increase. Serve Washington and AmeriCorps, the agency, have been hearing a call for increased living allowances. And I will also say that we only have 1 or 2 programs who are at that max. So you all are able to go up to 35,000. The increased cost per MSY doesn't keep pace with that maximum, but that's where we will encourage you to think outside the box with your fund development, because there is significant room within that range to increase the living allowance. Talked about the maximum cost per MSY, and the education awards have been posted. And here is the chart for full-time slots. Next year, the education award is going to be $6,895. Now, where are we in the process? So, for competitive, resolution is nearly complete. I'm seeing a flurry of emails yesterday and today from competitive programs finalizing their resolution. So huge thank you for all. It's a quick turnaround time and appreciate everybody prioritizing that. Next step is mid-July. We will get the official AmeriCorps notice of grant award. For formula, the grant review committee met last Friday, and then Serve Washington staff met on Monday and are going to meet again next Tuesday. So we're planning on having some of that clarification start. This is a year where all of our formula programs are in continuation. So clarifications should be really easy since it is continuation, but there will be some. And again, it's going to be a tight turnaround. We should be letting you know the 2nd or 3rd and asking for a response by May 9th. Now, with this turnaround time and these conversations, I do have to say that it's not official. It's pending the final vote by our commissioners. The grant review committee has met and came up with a proposal, but the entire board has to approve it. That's going to happen on May 15th. And then it's the waiting game until mid-July when things are official. However, remember, you don't need to wait until that official notification to start recruitment. So don't look at this and think, oh, I can't start recruiting until July. That is not what this means. So, okay. Some additional quick training updates. There is going to be a new training requirement called Key Concepts of Financial Grant Management. It's in Litmos, the same platform where you all have completed your National Service Criminal History checks and do that on an annual basis. So you have a valid certification or certificate of that when we come out to monitor. For next year, this is not for the current program year. This is for next year. We will be adding checking for completion of this course. It'll be in terms and conditions again for next year, but just wanted to let you know about it in case you wanted to go check that out. Also, when I got into Litmus to look at this, there were so many trainings that I didn't even know were in there. So if you're interested in doing some more learning and training around AmeriCorps and AmeriCorps rules, that might be a really good place to go. A question about how long the training is. I am not sure. I will look into that and try and get that answer for you. Next, we landed on a decision, and the annual subgrantee meeting is going to be in person. It's most likely going to be in the Olympia area, but now that we know it's in person, we've started looking for a venue we want to use. I see a hooray in the chat box. I know that there were some people who had very good and valid reasons for wanting virtual, but the majority of people had said in person is the preference, or program, excuse me. And since we're going to be in person, we're only going to do 2 days. So if you had a hold for July 12th, you can let that go, but do keep the hold for July 13th and 14th. Saw a quick question in the chat box. Which staff will the key concept of financial grants management apply to? For example, the NSCHC training is required for any staff conducting or involved with NSCHC. I'm not entirely sure on that. I'll need to get into the new terms and conditions as soon as I can to read a little bit more about that. But I think it's intended to not just be for fiscal staff, but for program staff too, if your program has that division, to make sure that there's understanding of the fiscal components by the program side. And having said that, I don't think it's going to be asked that everybody on your staff, especially state agencies with a large number of people who touch this grant, to do it. So more to come on that. All right, we have a second Padlet that I wanted to do. And now that we know that the annual meeting is going to be in person, we're starting to pull together the agenda and really want to make sure that we're responsive to what your needs are. I think program officers, when we have our meetings and touch base, we talk about, oh, I'm hearing this theme, I'm hearing this theme. So we've got that. But I'm wondering if there's some other specific things that you're interested in. So we've got the Padlet. And again, this is going to be open after this. So if you need to think about it and plug something in, please feel free. But we want to be responsive to your needs. We also want to shift the meeting to being more conversations. What are conversations you want to have as a whole network, and not just like a specific training, right? Of course, I'll be doing the AmeriCorps updates for next year. There's going to be a couple of those components, but really don't want it to be just a bunch of talking heads at you. I want it to be really engaging. So And again, if anybody wants to turn their microphone on and talk around this, I am not at all surprised that the first thing to pop up here is around recruitment. Or no, this is retention, troubleshooting around retention. I saw the R and my brain's on recruitment. Sorry about that. Retention numbers, okay. Learn more about handshake. There's a recruitment piece. Attendance policies and how to frame conversations about time off. I love this. Keep these coming in. And I think nuances around CPC exits, suspensions, LOAs, etc., tied to time off space. Could you put some more clarification in there around that? I'm struggling to remember what LOA is. Or you can chat with your program officer too. Oh, people still had COVID and other illnesses this year, but couldn't use the COVID CPC exit. Gotcha. Okay. Oh, LOA, leave of absence. Sorry. Okay. Those coming in, thoughts about not just trainings, but conversations to have with your peers. Also, going to put another plug in for Basecamp. There's so much knowledge on the webinar right now and in our network, and invite you to use that Basecamp space. Yes, it's leave of absence, and it's more around what we can and can't do in these situations. In the past, it's been a bit unclear and left up to programs, but it would be good to have ideas of what others do or don't do and what lines are drawn around that. Thank you very much for that clarity. That is really helpful. Ways to provide additional supports to members beyond the living stipend. Okay, so now that I've seen that and heard that comment in the chat, I'm going to go ahead and go to the next slide. Keep plugging stuff into that Padlet. Some other updates. We mentioned this at our last call, but there has been clarity that only actual living allowances count towards that maximum living allowance, which leaves some room and flexibility for additional benefits. Now, we at Serve Washington juggle with wanting to make sure we're providing a framework and guidance for you that's going to support you, but also leave you some flexibility to make it, to make decisions about what's best for your program. So we are developing some guidance around those member benefits that we'll be releasing soon. We can have some of those conversations, but I know people, our programs are asking for this now because they want to be including some additional benefits in their recruitment materials. So this is high priority for the team. We've got a draft written. We're having Amber look it over. So there should be some guidance from Serve Washington soon around parameters of member benefits. Since I'm here on the slide, I want to give a reminder about exit timelines as we're coming into end of term season. Please remember that you must exit your members within 30 days of their last day of service. So please pay attention to those exit dates and maybe do an assessment of your systems now. How are you going to ensure that those are done within 30 days? I'm bringing this up because in our last grantee progress report that we did, that we complete and submit to the feds, there were actually a surprising number of members that were exited past that 30-day mark. So I just wanted to remind you, now, in a lot of cases, it was, we exited the members timely, but then we went back to do an audit and realized that we had the number of hours wrong and went to update that. E-grants will flag or put the date in there as the last date that something was done in that profile. So if you want to take a screenshot before you go in and make any changes, take a screenshot or run one of those exit timeline reports in eGrants. And if you don't remember how to do that, you can certainly ask your program officer. We love helping with those things. Get that report before you make the change and then after you make the change, so that if I have to come to you and say, hey, what was the deal here? Or your program officer, you've got the documentation that it was in fact timely. I also want to note that Serve Washington is engaging with an evaluator, Illuminate Evaluation Services, to conduct an evaluation on our workforce development offerings that we did, and that is BASTA and Skill Up. What that means is there's going to be staff from Illuminate are going to be developing and conducting member surveys and member interviews. The survey is going to be 10 minutes. The interview will be 30 minutes. And it's going to be both members who participated in Boston Skill Up offerings and members who didn't. So I just wanted to let you know that that's, going to be happening. And I don't know if it's going to be Illuminate or somebody else, but we are going to create a mechanism for program feedback as well as the member appointment. And then speaking of Skill Up, we wanted to do a plug. Mary, do you want to talk about Skill Up real quick?
Sure. Thanks, Jenny. So we have some seats left in Skill Up, and so we wanted to give a brief plug for it. If you have members who are interested, there are 60 college level courses, as the slide says, in the areas of social impact, business, healthcare, technology, universal skills. The members can sign up starting now, and they should receive notice within 48 hours that their sign up has gone through successfully, and then they can access these courses on their own time. We have talked in the past about Skill Up being for members within the ages of 17 to 25. That still is the main way of thinking, but because we have these seats open, we can be flexible about that. So we don't have to limit the age of your members.
Thank you, Mary. So yeah, there's a lot of good courses your members can have access to, and they would have that access through October. So please encourage your members to sign up. We'll stick the link to where your members can go now. And we just want to make sure that we get as many people in here as possible.
Yeah, thank you, Catherine, for putting the sign up link in the chat. So those of you on the call, if you want to open that link and save it to share with your members, that would be great.
And then I saw a question about would participation in the interviews with Illuminate count as service hours for our members? Yes, it absolutely would. If they're doing Skill Up or anything around BASTA, that counts as service hours or training hours, excuse me, it counts as hours. The Skill Up definitely is training. And the participation in an evaluation is part of their service. So definitely count those hours. All right, and now we just kind of wanted to highlight some events. Oh, Mary, I think I saw you turn your microphone on. Were you wanting to do this, or do you want me to?
Oh, I'd love for you to do it. I was just ready to speak about the swearing in ceremony when the time comes.
Awesome. So we have still left the Points of Light conference. That's not a Serve Washington, that's not a requirement. We just know a lot of people in the field enjoy participating in that conference. We have the year-end celebrations. If you have something planned that you are going to be celebrating your members, we would love to be invited, both because that's something that energizes us in our work, to, you know, get out of the office. We're removed from the members now. So that energizes us, but also would really love it if you could invite Rachel, and Rachel could get some pictures or maybe a video or a member testimonial about what their time in AmeriCorps meant. We would love to gather that knowledge and be able to highlight your program and AmeriCorps as well. Because increasing the awareness of AmeriCorps can help recruitment in the long run. And then Mary, do you want to talk about the swearing in ceremony?
Yeah, thanks, Jenny. So as the slide says, it's going to be October 20th, 2023. It will be virtual again. I'm currently working with a few members who are serving on the member advisory committee to help shape the content of the swearing in ceremony and the offerings of workshops in the afternoon. And I wanted to bring up that we are going to replicate what some of you have seen in the past, where we have an alumni panel, and also we have alumni issue the oath of service or the pledge, the AmeriCorps pledge. And those functions are well suited for returning members. So we are recruiting currently for members to issue the pledge and for members to serve on the alumni panel. So if you have members who come to mind, right, you know, as I'm speaking about this, who you feel are going to be returning next year, please speak to them and have them contact me, or you can contact me about them and I'll get in touch with those members.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks, Mary. We love having that member voice incorporated into the planning. And Mary's done a really, really great job of that the last few years. So, especially given the pivot to being virtual, there was a lot of big changes to the swearing in ceremony that's happened in the last few years, and Mary's just doing an awesome job with it, as are the members on the advisory committee. Okay, and then we have a training calendar. A lot of these have passed. The regional conference or national service training happened in March, but I know that there were some of you that signed up for the virtual option, and that's going to be happening in June. Catherine, would you want to talk about Leadership Forum real quick?
Sure. I can speak just briefly on what the plan is so far. So we are currently working on getting our contract together with the UW, as well as just getting our registration form out. I'm hopeful that we'll have that out by tomorrow for y'all. But so there will be two portions to it. The focus this year is program assessment. There is an online module that will be May 12th to Wednesday the 24th. The time commitment for that is just in the morning, however, so that's 8:30 to 11, it looks like, every day. And then, oh, and you have to do both. You can't just do one or the other, unfortunately. And then the June portion will be taking place in Seattle at the UW, and that is Monday, June 12th, and it looks like every day, with the exception of the last day, the 15th, is about 8 a.m. to 4:30 p.m. So we do have a minimum requirement of 15 participants, and the cost this year for our programs is $700 to participate. And I think that's kind of all the sort of details I have for now. Jenny, you're welcome to speak to it a little bit more. Since Jenny was always the lead, I know that she has a bit more background knowledge than I do in this area. And again, we will be sharing out a link to registration form. Oh, and I would also add too, if anyone thinks that they are interested, we would love to hear either in the chat or via email, or through your program officer, just so that we can kind of gauge how much interest there is. It would just be really helpful as we do our planning.
Yeah. And we know that it's a very short timeline between now and when the online portion starts. That's one of those areas where I appreciate your patience and understanding, as we were a little understaffed for a bit. And again, throwing some love and appreciation Catherine's way for taking this piece on as well. Yeah, and the participation fee is $800 for individuals outside, or participants, excuse me, outside of Washington State. So if you're in our portfolio, there's a little bit of a discount for you there. We were trying to figure out how to encourage and support your attendance. For anybody who's newer, the Leadership Forum is a three session course, and it's traditionally one session each year, and then when you complete all three, you get a certificate of national service and nonprofit management. Certificate is valuable, but the training is valuable. Think about a program assessment training you would have received at the regional conference, and now take that one topic and stretch it out over the equivalent of a full week. You get a very, very deep dive, and the focus this year is program assessment. Highly encourage this. It is also really specific to nonprofits and national service. A lot of the examples actually come from AmeriCorps programs. So that's my plug. And then again, annual subgrantee meeting is going to be July 13th and 14th. There is no registration cost. That's just something that Serve Washington puts on, and we make you come to. So no registration, and we'll get more details out for you as we get more planning done around that.
Jenny, it might be worth noting that for people who are traveling, that there probably will be travel associated costs that
Oh,
the
yes.
program needs to bear.
Yes, thank you. I appreciate that. And we do look to make sure it gets incorporated into budgets during grant making. As it's required, we want to make sure that you earmark something in your budget to be able to cover that travel. So thank you very much for that clarification, Mary. And then with that was all that I had. So thank you all so much. Really, really appreciate everything that you all do. The work or the service that happens in our state wouldn't be possible without the work that you do. And just really appreciate having conversations with everybody about how to make member experiences and service better in our state. So acknowledging and appreciating the work that you all do. And you're all really fun too. So thank you very much. We'll stick around for a few more minutes. If anybody has questions, yeah, feel free to use the chat box or turn your microphone on. And if not, I hope you have a fabulous day.